What's up? Semen retention. Lust will make your life off balance in every aspect. I know I was just talking about my last video I just recorded. Um, it puts you off center with everything when it comes to your personality, when it comes to being yourself, when it comes to dating, when it comes to hanging out with friends, when it comes to working hard with building a business or not business but anything like when it comes to career wise, making more money, having better relationships with people. And I think it does that because it takes the life out of you expressing yourself, and no, you can't feel anything. And that's why I think, lust kind of takes your emotions away. Not in a way like, oh, I'm about to become stoic, but in a negative way where you would usually feel happiness, you don't feel anything, you know? And the only emotions you that activate is the negative emotions like embarrassment, guilt, you know what I'm saying, jealousy. It's gonna activate all the negative emotions, and the stuff that when it comes to you enjoying yourself, that's the part that lust takes away, and the reason it does that is because the energy in which you would be having fun, you give all that to lust, you give all that to sex, you give all that to, you know, watching the websites, masturbating, all that type of stuff, And I just think the biggest thing, this is why I feel like everything in your life will start going the wrong way when you get addicted or you can't control your sexual energy, because the naturalness of how things are supposed to be for you, it starts to become, or when you do it, it starts to become unnatural, because when you start building, unnatural habits, I feel like things like, you know, when it comes to dating, that's gonna get wrecked, that's gonna get messed up, you know, and maybe it might seem like, oh, I'm gonna just, have sex with every girl or whatever, and nothing don't seem wrong. But you will start to understand that nothing is gonna benefit you, and later on, all this is gonna be, it's gonna be a consequence for all of this. So that means long term, you know, it's gonna be more of a negative than it is a positive, And I just believe that the energy you have that you're supposed to give towards living your life and enjoying your life and creating success, you give that energy to lust. And when you try to go and do those things to enjoy your life, you can no longer do it from a mentality standpoint. You maybe can physically try, but from a mentality standpoint, everything, nothing's gonna, it ain't nothing gonna feel, nothing is gonna feel right, And the feeling behind stuff matters, even though, yeah, it's discipline, it's, it's all this stuff, you can go against your emotions and all that type of stuff. But I'm talking about which, when you have a purpose and you want to enjoy your life, through your purpose, you can't do that anymore. The passion, the drive, it disappears, And I think passion and drive, that's something that's supposed to always be there, you know. And I think it's there even when you go against some emotions, like just like if you want to be the best runner in the world, right? Or the best football player, or the best basketball player. It's going to be days you don't want to do something you don't want to do, but you're gonna do it because you still like basketball. You know it's gonna make you a better basketball player. So I feel like that overall passion and drive still has to be there, even though it might be some minuscule, or it might be some minimal thing in that you don't want to do, right? And so I just think, you have to place that, you have to put that up there. You can't just say, oh, just, it's not gonna be there. But you know what I'm talking about, I'm just talking about, it takes the enjoyment and the satisfaction, or it takes the fun out of wanting to work hard for something. It takes the drive out of wanting to work hard for something. You no longer want to do it in general, your lack and your drive and your motivation goes down, you know. And this is how I think it just lowers everything in your life, because from a functionality standpoint, so how you supposed to interact with the world, everything becomes off center. And I was just talking about, how, and this ties into how you act socially, and it ties into how, you know, what you get in life, because you will no longer do stuff from a natural state, or you can't do it. And if you try to do it, it just feels dysfunctional, and you be used to doing stuff the dysfunctional way or the wrong way. Just like we supposed to be having sex with women instead of, going home and like masturbating and watching porn and stuff. Then when you get a girlfriend and stuff, now everything is dysfunctional from an emotional standpoint, from inside the bedroom, like, sex and stuff. Everything be dysfunctional, and that's what I could really say. That's the stuff that I've went through, and that's a big reason why I've always, not always, but a large part of my like teenage years, my older teenage years, I seen awkward. I seen like everywhere I was, like I wasn't supposed to be there. You know, I couldn't properly just go all in with something. You know, everything was always half stepped, and it felt unnatural, even though I wanted stuff to feel natural again. Because you get the best out of life whenever you can do something naturally and it's not tainted or damaged or anything. Because I think when God created us, He didn't create us to be addicted to lust. You know, because you would hear stuff like, well, man, just because I know, you look at nowadays, most men or most people in the world, they have, problems with like, porn addiction and all that. It's like the overwhelming majority is men, and you look at, the men that be paying for all this stuff, like OnlyFans and stuff, that's like 90% men. And I know women can go through that, but it's mainly men. And I think the devil is really trying to use that against us, because I feel like a man has a different level of strength when it comes to um mentally, but I feel like he uses sex against us, because I feel like we got testosterone and stuff. So I feel like we do have a higher sex drive, but it's beyond that, because we wasn't born addicted to any of that. We was born, not addicted to sex and stuff. And I feel like you become more masculine when you become sexually pure, and you're not concerned about sex. You're not concerned about having sex. You're not concerned about really dating. You know what I'm saying? And like if you are, then that's okay. But a man is not really into just, oh, I gotta have sex. I feel like a man that can just naturally be himself and not need to do all this other stuff, you know, he starts to become natural again and do stuff naturally. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Peace out.